So, I don't really understand this. Obviously, I'm talking about another one of these portable emulation devices again. And if you're sick of me talking about these, too bad. It's not my fault. They just keep firing these out left and right. Anyway, I love these little portable emulators, and this one does something a little bit special. Trust me, I wouldn't do a video on just any old generic portable emulator, not anymore anyway. This thing plays a lot of systems that I've never seen a cheap Linux-based portable emulator play, including N64 games. Does it play them well? We'll have to see about that. This is the Arcade 2020. It is not perfect, and it ain't the easiest thing to use, but for the price, I'm very surprised by what this thing's capable of. Before we start the video, I just want to say that I finally uploaded a video to my personal channel again. It's of the protests here in Brooklyn, so if you want more to see after you see this video, go over to that channel and give that a watch. All right, get ready for this. The Arcade 2020 plays Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, NES, SNES, Game Gear, Master System, Genesis, PC Engine, SCUM, PlayStation 1, PSP, N64, and Dreamcast. Now, when they offered to send me this thing, I already knew that it played N64 games, which is why I was sold on it in the first place. But I had no idea that it also played Dreamcast games. Now, it doesn't run on the same type of OS that all of my other portable emulators seem to run on. This one is called Emulate, and it seems to have the emulation station skin slapped over it. I kind of like the way this UI looks a lot. It's way nicer to navigate than the Open Dingux UI all the other devices I've tested have. It always boots up to the Capcom Play System directory, which is a little useless to me, but I guess it prioritizes alphabetical order. Oh yeah, by the way, it plays Capcom Play System games. I forgot to say that earlier because I know that just excites so many of you. The entire unit feels a little cheap. It's made out of this thick, smoky, clear plastic that's vaguely reminiscent of the clear Nintendo shells of the past. It has all the buttons you need on the front: D-pad, ABXY, start, select, and one thumbstick. The thumbstick actually feels pretty good, which is a very good thing to hear considering the horrible thumbsticks I've seen on these devices in the past. I don't really mind having just one thumbstick because most of the games I'm going to play on here only require one. But if you want to play something like Ape Escape, you won't be able to utilize the DualShock controls. Obviously, the buttons aren't laid out like an N64. You don't have those ever so important C buttons, but the emulator has some good options to get around that. You can hold R2 to toggle the face buttons as C buttons, and that sounds complicated, but it actually works surprisingly well for games like GoldenEye or Perfect Dark that require that kind of input. And it felt really natural to use that way. The D-pad is thick plastic, but feels okay. Same with the face buttons, and the start and select buttons are kind of flush against the plastic, but it's fine. It's not the best build quality, but it's fine. Because this thing is only $66. You're not getting nearly the build quality as you are on something like the RG350M, but the Arcade 2020 is half the price, and it can play way more systems. Now, does this make it better than the RG350M? No, not at all. If you're on a budget, maybe, but there's still plenty of things about this thing that knock it down a few pegs, and we'll talk about that, but first I'm not done talking about the button layout and the weird I/O that it has. It has 4 shoulder buttons, which you love to see. A power button, a headphone jack, USB-C for charging, and a full-sized USB-A port. Okay. On the bottom, it has a micro SD card slot, and it comes with a micro SD card with the OS and the emulators and some games pre-installed. So don't ever take this out, or at least be really careful when you do. There's also a tiny reset button on the bottom. No volume or brightness sliders. In fact, I'm not even sure how to change the volume in the middle of a game. I only know how to change the volume from the OS's settings menu. It also just has one tiny speaker, and the audio quality is mediocre. To turn on the device, you have to hold down the power button for exactly 2 seconds. No more and no less. I've had times where I thought the device was bricked because I wasn't holding down for the exact right amount of time. Also, the button is completely flush with the shell, so you kinda gotta dig your finger in there a little bit. So you're probably wondering by now why there's a full-size USB-A port on the top. And that's so that you can load your own ROMs using a USB thumb drive. All you have to do is put all of the ROMs in a folder on that drive and name that folder emulec_copy_ROMs_from_here. So that emulec knows that it needs to copy the files from there and place everything in their right folders. I'm not sure what exactly I did wrong, but it took that entire folder and placed it into the Arcade 2020's ROMs folder. So none of the ROMs actually made it where they needed to go. There is a file explorer built into this device, but it looks like in MS-DOS. None of the buttons actually control the navigation at all, and it's sideways. The only way I was able to get my ROMs from my computer onto this device was by downloading Paragon's $40 EXTFS software. There is a free trial available, but I already blew that free trial on the Pocket Go. Not that I needed it for that, because that had a good file explorer. The software makes it really easy though. You just pop the micro SD card into your computer and drag and drop the files where they need to go. That software is probably a good thing for me to have anyway, because I mess around with a lot of these types of devices on the regular. But I don't think a regular consumer should have to go through something like that. I'm sure that there's a way to get the copy from USB drive to work. I probably did something wrong, or maybe you can name all of the folders inside of that folder exactly what they are on the device, but how would you know what the names are on that device? But all I had to do was put a file explorer on this thing that worked, and then there wouldn't be a problem. You'd be able to copy the stuff into the right folders. But that $40 that I spent made my life just way easier. Can you hear me trying to justify that purchase to myself? I also was able to move over my save files very easily. I just had to rename the extension on my Game Boy Advance Mega Man Zero save. Yes, I'm still playing that game. The boss that I'm on right now makes me want to fucking die. Another problem I have with this thing is the display. It looks very nice. It's bright and colorful and everything. It's a 3.5-inch IPS display, just like a lot of the other good portable emulators. But it's slightly wider. It's actually the same aspect ratio as a Game Boy Advance, so that's great. But it's only 320 by 480p. Now that's exactly double of what a Game Boy Advance screen is capable of. So Game Boy Advance looks great. It's the perfect aspect ratio for that, and it's double the pixel density for that. If you've seen all my videos on these types of devices, you can catch a trend that they're pretty much made for Game Boy Advance games. Those always work great. But 320 by 480 is a weird resolution to upscale other consoles to, and it's a lower resolution than what a Dreamcast outputs to. So Dreamcast games, while they run surprisingly well, the pixels look enlarged. Some text looks all janky, and some characters in the distance look way tinier than they probably would on a CRT. But you know, at least it plays Dreamcast at all. It might stutter and you might get some minor issues, but I'm happy that it has the capability and was included, even if it doesn't look the best. Dreamcast, even though it requires more system resources, runs way better than the N64 emulator on here. That's because N64 is just really hard to emulate. And that's one of the things I'm confused about. This thing's able to run Dreamcast games because it has a 1.3 gigahertz quad-core processor and 1 gigabyte of DDR3L RAM. The RG350M only has a 1 gigahertz dual-core processor and 512 megabytes of DDR2 RAM. So, how is this thing more powerful than the RG350M and half the price? Did Anbernick or whoever really spend that much money on the aluminum case, the higher resolution screen, the Joy-Con-like thumbsticks, the solid buttons, and just the overall design quality? Why can't this just go into this? Are they holding out for a newer model or something? Are we going to hear about the RG350M Plus in like a week at the rate these things are popping out? Anyway, I mentioned the weird resolution, but all of the emulators on this thing run the games pretty solidly, until you, of course, get to a certain point where it requires way too much power. Like, I had no problems with all of the super retro stuff, no screen tearing at all. I did notice in Sonic 3 there was a moraying that kind of looks like the screen's tearing. The Genesis outputs a 320 pixel high resolution, so the Arcade 2020 shouldn't really have a problem with that. Maybe the screen size is just too perfect. Moraying is when, hold on a second. It's when there's a pattern like this, and you see that? You can kind of maybe, I see it on my monitor. It's just a striped pattern, but it creates these like wavy sort of, that's what I was seeing. So it's not really a problem with the device, it's more like an optical illusion. These games were meant to be played on a CRT TV anyway. Now I got a little tricked by the N64 emulator. See, I played a lot of this with the sound off, and it felt okay playing Mario 64. But once you turn the sound on, it really amplifies the slowdown effect. Mario 64 runs pretty great for the most part, but when you load a level, there's some intense slowdown. And it seems to slow down randomly throughout the game. Games that require the expansion pack also have some stuttering issues. Perfect Dark took a long time to load and also had some stuttering on cutscenes. But the gameplay was actually smooth as butter. It took me a while to figure out how to tweak the controls for Perfect Dark. For some reason, I had to turn off analog stick left. But once you get a configuration you like, you can save it for just the one game specifically or the entire emulator. All of these emulators use RetroArch. I don't really like RetroArch that much, but this UI does make RetroArch way easier to use than it normally is. And there are a lot of options under the menu of each emulator. I appreciate the scaling options in Open Dingux a little more. It's more specific to each game system. For the most part, all of these emulators are set up optimally for the Arcade 2020 anyway, so even if you wanted to tweak it a little bit, the default settings are most likely the best that you're gonna get. More weird problems that I have with this thing: the PlayStation 1 emulator came with games, but it didn't come with a BIOS? Somehow it plays Crash Bandicoot just fine, but Metal Gear won't work even after I've added my own BIOS to it. Also, when I first unboxed this thing, it looked like the screen was flickering as if the refresh rate wasn't keeping up. Really, the problem was that there wasn't enough battery in the device.
Oh, it died. It completely died.
So when the system's about to die, it just malfunctions.
This is gonna be a problem. Oh. Oh, okay.
When playing the high graphic games like N64 games and Dreamcast games, it burns through the battery like crazy. I also noticed sometimes the emulation station UI will just flash in real quick while I'm in the middle of a game. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen, and it's a little strange. But I mean, that's what you should expect when you're paying half the price of an RG350M and the same price as a Pocket Go, but it plays PSP, Dreamcast, and N64 games. Does it play them well? Again, I'm just happy that the option is there, even if it isn't the best experience. I like the Pocket Go because the build quality is solid, even though the thumbstick's a little dicey, and it plays all of its emulators great, except for PS1. That's not that great. The Arcade 2020, you're sacrificing a little bit of that build quality. The screen isn't as good, but you're able to play Dreamcast and N64 games. It just might, blip in and out every once in a while. Look, it's a little rough around the edges, but I can forgive its quirks and its lackluster build quality for its super competitive price point. The only thing making it hard to recommend this thing are the hurdles you have to jump through to get ROMs on here. All of the other devices I've used make it way easier right out of the box. The Arcade 2020 makes it needlessly complicated. But if you want to tinker, or maybe you're on a budget, or you just want to play Dreamcast or N64 games portably and you don't care how perfect it is, then this might be the product for you. But then again, if you tinker, you probably already have something like a hacked PSP or a hacked DS Lite or an Android phone with a Bluetooth controller strapped to it, because those are just so much better, and everybody who has those love those so much more than a dedicated handheld device that plays everything right out of the box, right? So anyway, what do you guys think about the Arcade 2020 or being able to play Dreamcast and N64 games portably? Is this something that you'd be interested in? I had to knock it for its stuttering in the N64 emulator, but honestly, I could play a whole game like that and it wouldn't bother me too much. But we got a long ways to go before N64 emulation on a portable device like this is worth freaking out about. Anyway, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Add me on Twitter and any and all this other social media garbage. We got new videos and live streams all the time here. Our schedule is usually in a pin tweet over on our Twitter. And we got Wulff Den Live, our live podcast where we talk to each other every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. And we got streams over on twitch.tv/WulffDen. Put the notifications on there so that you know when I go live, so that we can have a nice live chat. Oh, and don't forget, if you were interested, check out that video on my personal channel. Now's the time. Now we're done with this video. Go watch that video now. But of course, the most important thing that you can do is wash your hands. Subscribe to this channel and share this video with a friend. A friend who's into these portable emulation devices, maybe has a hacked device of their own or something, or just loves retro stuff and might want to play something like the N64 portably. Thank you guys very much. You have yourself a very good week. Mwah.